pen trembled in Arya Whitmore's hand as the room shimmered with Christmas, lights and careless laughter. Crystal glasses clinked, silk dresses brushed past one another, and smiles bloomed easily, too easily for a night built on her quiet undoing. She stood at the center of it all, a woman on display, signing her divorce papers at a holiday party that felt less like celebration and more like a beautifully wrapped execution. The ink bled slowly into the page as if even the paper understood the weight of what was being taken from her. A tear slipped free, unannounced and unseen, disappearing before anyone bothered to look closely enough to notice. Around her, the Whitmore estate glowed with polished perfection. Garlands framed the walls, candles flickered gently, and music hummed softly in the background. But none of it reached her. Arya pulled her gray coat tighter around her shoulders, a thin layer of protection against the chill that had nothing to do with winter. The long wooden table before her felt endless, separating her from the people who once called her family and now watched with thinly veiled curiosity. Their expressions said everything they did not dare speak. Aloud, pity, judgment, amusement. To them, this was the expected ending of a woman who had failed to hold her place. For years, Arya had been the quiet one, the accommodating one, the woman who learned early that survival sometimes meant shrinking. She had married into wealth believing love would be enough, not realizing how quickly affection could be replaced by control, how easily her value would be measured against appearances. She gave up dreams without announcing the sacrifice, chose peace over pride, silence over confrontation. When the cracks in her marriage deepened, she tried to mend them quietly, hoping privacy might protect what little dignity remained. But dignity was fragile, in rooms where judgment thrived and compassion was decorative at best. As she signed, laughter rippled behind her, indifferent and cruel in its timing. Someone refilled a glass. Someone adjusted a necklace. Life went on effortlessly for everyone except the woman whose world was being reduced to ink and paper. They saw Arya as ordinary, replaceable, a cautionary tale wrapped in grace. No one wondered what it cost her to stand there so composed, or what strength it took not to break. And no one, absolutely no one, suspected that this moment, meant to humiliate her, was quietly carving the first crack in the cage she had lived inside for years. The moment the pen left the paper, a strange stillness settled over Arya. The ache in her chest did not disappear, but it softened, as if it had finally been acknowledged. She folded the signed pages carefully, aligning the edges with deliberate precision, and placed them on the table. Her hands no longer shook. Around her, the party resumed its polished rhythm, laughter rising again as though nothing of consequence had happened. To everyone else, the story was finished. To Arya, something had just begun. She lifted her gaze and, for the first time that evening, truly looked at the people surrounding her. They whispered behind raised glasses, exchanged knowing glances, and wore smiles that spoke of quiet victory. In their eyes, she was the woman who had married well and failed poorly, someone who had been granted access to a world she did not deserve and was now being gently escorted out of it. They mistook her silence for weakness, her composure for defeat. What they did not understand was that Arya had learned the power of restraint long before she learned the cost of compromise. Her past was not empty. It was deliberately hidden. She had been raised in a world where names opened doors and money bent reality, a world she chose to step away from long before she married. She believed love should stand on its own, unassisted by influence or wealth. She wanted to be chosen for who she was, not for the weight of a legacy she never claimed. That was why she never spoke of her father, why she let assumptions form and judgments settle. Silence to her was not surrender, it was a test. As the evening wore on, subtle shifts moved through the room. A few unfamiliar guests arrived, dressed simply, carrying themselves with a quiet confidence that did not seek attention. Conversations paused briefly, then resumed, but something felt different, unsettled. Arya sensed it before she saw it, a presence that stirred memory and certainty all at once. Her shoulders straightened, not in anticipation, but in recognition. She had never needed rescue, only truth. Earlier that day, a private jet had landed quietly at a nearby airport, its arrival unnoticed by the very people who prided themselves on knowing everything. No announcements had been made, no introductions planned. Power, when real, rarely demands applause. It waits, and as Arya stood there, calm now in the center of a room that believed it had diminished her, the truth moved closer, step by unhurried step, ready to change the meaning of everything they thought they knew. The change in the room came without spectacle. No music stopped. No voice rose above the others. Yet conversations thinned, laughter faltered, and an invisible line of attention slowly shifted toward the entrance. When Malcolm Whitmore stepped inside, he did not announce himself or demand recognition. He simply walked forward with the ease of a man who had never needed permission to enter any room. A few guests recognized him instantly, color draining from their faces. Others felt the weight of his presence before understanding why their confidence suddenly felt misplaced. His eyes moved calmly across the room until they found Arya. In that single, quiet moment, years of restraint, distance, and unspoken understanding met. He crossed the space between them and stopped at her side, resting a gentle hand on her shoulder. The gesture was simple, almost tender, yet it spoke louder than any speech. Arya lifted her chin, not in triumph, but in acceptance. She was not being claimed. She was being acknowledged. Around them, expressions shifted. Smiles tightened. Whispers died mid-sentence. Those who had looked at Arya with pity or amusement now struggled to meet her eyes. The truth settled slowly and heavily. She had never been powerless. She had chosen humility. She had chosen silence. And in doing so, she had revealed exactly who in the room mistook privilege for worth. Malcolm did not defend her or expose anyone. He did not need to. His presence alone dismantled the story they had written about her. Arya felt no urge for revenge, no hunger for apology. What mattered was not their sudden discomfort, but the clarity blooming inside her. She saw the evening for what it truly was, a test she had passed, and a chapter she no longer needed. When she turned to leave, the Christmas lights no longer felt mocking. They softened, glowing like quiet witnesses to a transformation that required no applause. The cold night air outside felt clean, almost weightless, as if it had been waiting for her. Arya stepped forward with steady resolve, carrying nothing from that room except the certainty of who she was. She walked away, not as a woman rescued by power, but as one reclaimed by truth. Her future stretched open before her, unshaped by judgment, untouched by expectation. And in that silence, beneath fading laughter and dimming lights, her strongest chapter began, written not in ink but in choice.